planning authorities or the hierarchy of planning. So in the Philippines, we separated our planning and urban planning and like urban, like sort of like regional design into four groups. So that's the national planning, regional planning, provincial planning, and local planning. Notice, like I think the biggest weakness in this sort of setup is that the gap between provincial and local and municipal planning is very large. So, for example, you're the governor of Cebu, and then how do you manage all of these different cities and municipalities individually? So there needs to be some kind of like this is what the my mentors are saying. Ma'am Solis, the architect Espinas, the environmental planners are sort of thinking that there should be like sort of a what they call a metropolitan level, basically a cooperation or collaboration within different cities and barangays to fill in that gap between provincial and local sort of planning. And to implement those plans, that's where urban designers come in. But back to this like diagram over here, there are three documents at the different levels. There's the physical framework plan, the PFP, the socioeconomic development plans, also called just development plans, the DPs, and the investment programs, the IPs. So at each level, they should have these three documents. So I'm still struggling to find the regional documents for Central Visayas. So we'll just look at the national level tonight. So as of this week, I tried like searching last week as well, but this is the only kind of this is the latest version of the Philippine framework for physical planning. There should be a previous version like 1990 to 2000 or something like that, but I couldn't find it. This is the only one I could find online. So what are the objectives on the national scale? So food security, meaning provide sufficient food, environmental stability, rational urban development, spatial integration, equitable access to physical and natural resources, public-private sector partnership, people empowerment, recognition of rights of indigenous people, and market orientation. So you never lose that economic side. And then if you want the document, I can give it to you. Actually, I only have the summary. I don't have the full document. So if you know people who might have this, that would be a very big help. And then the latest, this came out earlier, like this year, like sometime I think around June. The Philippine Development Plan 2017 to 2022. It highlights 16 goals, and usually when the development plans come out, and just go back here, it usually starts out at the medium term. So meaning in the middle of the term, I think, of the current president. So that's there's a medium term and there's like an updated near the end of the 6 year presidential term. So this document highlights the performance of the Philippines from 6 years ago, comparing it to what's happening now and future goals, hopefully which will be followed in the next administration. So now we're talking about politics. So what are the 16 goals? So building high trust society. This falls like in yellow. We have the more social goals. Um, pursue swift, fair, humane administration of justice. In blue, there's more focus on infrastructure, transforming towards equity and resiliency, expand opportunities across regions, economic opportunities, transform human capital development towards greater agility, ensure food resiliency. In green, what they call pag-unlad, increasing growth potential, so technology adaptation, creativity and innovation, etc., etc. And then there's one here in gray. It kind of falls like in there are three themes. And really, it highlights the importance of theming just to make the plan more understandable. Because if the plan is not understandable to the layman's, are like our other sort of I guess I don't want to. It has to be understandable at all levels, whether you be a blue collar or a white collar professional, whether you're a what do you call it, a janitor or like the highest paid doctor. It needs to be understandable for everyone because if nobody understands what the plans are, the plans don't get implemented. So this will bring me to sort of a critique of the um, objectives highlighted here. So I'll just like highlight one: responsive, people-centered, technology-enabled, and clean governance ensured. So this is a very big ask for the Philippine government, which has been traditionally marred with corruption. So they want it to be more transparent, more people centered, and technology enabled. So, what are their objectives over here? So, participatory governance broaden. So, how they do that? Proactively seek citizens' perspective for responsive government interventions, ensure public access to transparent strategic risk communication, intensify organizational and electoral reforms. So hopefully that gets done. Um, let's see here. So the goal here is to generate high public trust. In the first half of plan implementation, significant accomplishments in the governance sector came in the form of the enactment of several laws that will improve the way government delivers its services to people. In light of the COVID-19 pandemic, the government will expedite its shift to digital platforms for citizen management, service delivery, capacity building, and accountability mechanisms. So these are all well and good. I hope it gets done. And where sort of the building industry comes in is really housing. One of the biggest issues at the national level. So how do they do housing? So this is, I think, let me go back to their chart here. Build safe and resilient sustainable communities is here like hopefully it's on the bottom, but hopefully it's not the least prioritized in the national government. Let's see over here. Public health goals in the design of human settlements are integrated. Housing production that incorporates hazard and health standards accelerated. So architecture and landscape architecture will be very much important in this, and urban design will be as well, because urban design handles the spaces between the buildings. Landscape architecture handles the not just the landscaping, it's the overall planning of the site selection, what are environmental impact plans, and of course, the architects design the houses. So all three professionals need to work together. And alternative housing solutions for the low income market should be adopted. So this is more of the economics and finance side. So how do they solve that? Implement innovative housing finance modalities, strengthen primary mortgage markets, and develop more secondary ones. So within this document, I hope it's further explained. How do we create what's so innovative? What kind of innovations are needed so that our low income Filipino brothers and sisters or brethren are able to afford their housing. And then before I go move on to the next slide, it's really there's like a lot of research about how good housing impacts the ability for people to move out of poverty, because without a house you don't have a mailing address, you can't get a loan, you can't, I think some people won't hire you if you don't have a permanent address. So basically, number one, if they don't have a house, they can't get a job, or if they do have jobs, it's those very small low income jobs that kind of trap people in poverty. So that's really the importance of housing. I just want to highlight that. Okay, so this one is still in the development plan, looking at the performance of the Philippines since 2017. And over here, I just want to highlight as well the impact of COVID-19 on the economic performance on the world scale. So in the world level here is in blue. You see the big dip. So this is the zero, meaning the baseline. And then before COVID-19, countries around the world were experiencing around, let's say like 4 or 5% growth. And then when COVID-19 happened, it went down to like -5 or like negative, almost like 5.5, something like that. China also dipped, but China's the only one that didn't dip below zero. Everyone else went below zero. And I think we're here in the emerging and developing Asia. So we have here, we're probably like -2, -3, or like more likely like -2% growth. And then over here, poverty incidence, I just want to highlight. There is some good news. Poverty incidence reduced from 23.5% baseline value in the year 2015 to 16.7% in 2018. So I don't know what happened in 2019, probably because of COVID that is not updated. Rural poverty incidence was 34% in 2015 and now only 24.5. It's small, but at least it's moving. Unemployment rates, very important. So people can't afford housing or afford anything without jobs. 5.4% unemployment rate in 2016. And then as of 2019, it's 5.1. Not a lot, but again, it's moving. So yeah, so there is some growth to be had. It's just like all about maintaining that growth. So notice that 2021, everyone is going up. The biggest sort of recovery probably is in emerging and developing Asia. Notice that we were below 6%. Not we, but the whole of developing Asia was below 6%. But after 2021, it's above 6%. So there's a big sort of recovery. And it went down a bit and projected for 2022, where like things sort of normalize again. Okay. Now we're talking about economics. I think there was a question raised. Was there a question? Okay, no question. Okay. The investment programs. How do we fund these projects, these goals? And unfortunately, this is where the Philippines problem with technology emerges. So if I Google Philippine Investment Program, you find the website link from NEDA. But when you click the link, it's 403 forbidden. They're probably updating or there was maintenance. I don't know. I tried looking it up again today, but still doesn't work. So I went to the next best thing, looking at the Department of Budget and Management website. And basically, just to understand, like have a basic understanding, what are the different taxes? Because in general, all governments across the world, their main source of income or revenue is really taxes from its citizens. So in the Philippines, there are two kinds of taxes. There are national taxes and local taxes. So I think this is like national applied to everywhere in the Philippines, and local taxes applied to only some areas in the Philippines. So national taxes include taxes like estate tax, documentary stamp tax, percentage business tax, capital gains tax, value added tax, etc. And then in the local level, there's franchise tax, basic real property tax, etc. And also, very interestingly, sand, gravel, and other quarry resources tax. So I wasn't aware of that. I haven't been around in the industry long enough to find out that that's actually a thing. And then over here, from the the DBM, the Department of Budget Management, they actually have a document highlighting what taxes are being applied where. So province, cities, municipalities. So for example, transfer of real property ownership tax is applied in provinces, is applied in cities with an asterisk, not applied in municipalities. And within the metropolitan Manila area, asterisk is yes. So within the metropolitan Manila, almost all of it is being applied because there's a large tax base. So that's like revenue for the what they call this for the government. Currently, there is I think we're already at 100 million population in the Philippines. In the Philippines, so 100 million, 109 million. And how much does it take to cost to build a bridge? Let's say building cost for a bridge. For a bridge. We need bridges, roads, etc. Let's see here. So about 3,050 per square foot. So we need to convert that. So let's just say 350 to PHP. 350, 350 USD to PHP. I think it's 50. The conversion rate is like 50 now. It's about 17,000. What do you call this? So let's just say 20,000 per square foot of bridge. So let's do that per square foot. Let's see. How long is the let's see the third bridge in Cebu Province, Cebu City third bridge. The Cordova Expressway. Let's go to maps. I'm just gonna measure it in Google Maps. Okay, I don't have it here. Let's just use this bridge, the old bridge, the Osmeña Bridge. Measure this distance. Let's say it's about 70 meters. Let's compute 70 meters to feet. It's 229. So let's say 230. 230 times, let's just say round off 17,000. 17,000. So let's see here. Oh, actually 4 million. That's not a lot. It's not a lot. Actually, this might be on the lower side. So let's say 4 million, and then the total population of Cebu is about 900,000. 900,000. 4 million divided by 900,000. 4 million. Well, I'll just put it here. Divided by 900,000. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's just 4 pesos per person because ideally everyone should be using that bridge. So that's really the power of population. So if you have a large enough tax base, you don't need to tax that much to create something sort of usable for everyone. But of course, we have like corruption, all that stuff, and like all the other issues in the Philippines. So it doesn't get, it's not as smooth as it should be. That's why good governance is very important. Okay. Anyway, just a quick background. I thought it was interesting to note that the Department of Budget and what was it Department of Budget and Management was around in the 1930s, like 1937, and has been the same department since. So I think that was interesting. And then this is just like a sort of investment program format. So you would see the activities here, the reference code, description of those activities, the implementing office, start date, completion date, expected outputs, funding source, etc., etc. So I think that's interesting to see. You have this will be prepared by the planning officer, the budget officer, attested by the local chief executive, so whoever that might be. And then I did find one sample of an investment program or like IP program. Um, this is from the Cagayan Valley Regional Development Investment Program. So 2017 to 2022. And this is annual investment targets in the millions. And the funding source is organization called the GAA. I'm not sure. I'm not super sure what that is. Let me just Google that. GAA Philippines. What is the GA in Philippines? General Appropriations Act? Not sure what that is. DILG Philippines. Department of something something. I know Department of Interior and Local Government is the let's see here. The body that's in charge of the agency in charge of like securing these funds. And their targets are around 13 million annually. So total from 2017 to 2022, their targets like 82 million. So that's how much money is being sort of generated by a region like Cagayan Valley. So your area might have similar values if you have like the same kind of population. Okay. So with that out of the way, how does one or how does a government, how does a local government actually create these what do you call this, the zoning plans or the zoning maps based on the physical framework, the development plans, and investment programs? So these are highlighted in the Philippines by the CLUP Guidebook, Comprehensive Land Use Plan Guidebook, prepared by the Housing and Land Use Regulatory Board, the HLURB. So for those not familiar, the goal of having like zonings, zoning maps, physical frameworks, etc., is to optimize the use of land, promotion of public health and safety, preservation of desirable character and real estate values, and promotion of the rational and orderly growth of the city and municipality. And remember, in our class, the three issues that really want to focus on was the four issues are infrastructure, sustainability, disaster risk management, and heritage. So risk management falls under health and safety. Heritage falls under desirable character, and sustainability and infrastructure really falls under optimized use of land and what do you call this? Rational and orderly growth of the city and municipality. So I can give you the website for this if you're interested. But we just need to know what are the different zoning types in the Philippines. I'm sure some of you are already familiar. So in the Philippines, there are, let's see, 26 zoning types. So forest zone, agricultural zone, agri-industrial zone, municipal water zone, mineral land zone, general residence zone, etc., etc. So I'll just flash it on the screen, and then you can pause the video or the recording, and you can watch it later. Okay. In general, different countries have different colors for residential, commercial, and industrial. I think most of the countries use yellow, the same colors as the Philippines. Australia uses the same colors. It's only America and I think Canada. I'm not sure. Basically, uh, what do you call this? America and a few other countries don't use the same color convention. Everywhere else, the same. Yellow for residential, red for commercial, blue for institutional, purple for industrial, and green, of course, for open space. Okay, so what is the sort of jurisdiction of the CLUP? And you see over here, um, the HLURB creates their own comprehensive land use plan. The DILG also has their own over here. So this is from volume 1 of the CLUP guidebook. You see there, for some reason, there are two CLUPs prepared by two different governments, agencies, sorry. I guess that is to check if one is working or if like there are improvements to be made. There are also different smaller plans, the Forest Land Use Plan, which covers the forest and upland areas. And then there's also the Ancestral Domain Sustainable Development Protection Plan. So this falls under like heritage uses and it covers everything, forest to coast and marine. So like if a heritage site is there, it should be preserved. And then there's the Agrarian Reform Community Development Plan, the ARCDP, which focuses on upland areas, probably because of that's where all our farming areas are. And then the Coastal Fisheries Resource Management Plan, handled by DNR. The ARCDP is handled by the DAR, and then the let's see here, the ancestral domain is handled by NCIP, and then the forest land is also handled by the DNR. So those are the different frameworks and plans. So already, if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed by the amount of plans, don't be worried because I'm also like overwhelmed. There's so many different plans for different sections of the city, and there is really a challenge, at least logistically, how to coordinate all these plans. And like one sort of CLUP team could very easily be upwards of 30 to 50 people. I need to keep that communication open for the plans to be coordinated and make sense. So I'm just going to go into further detail here how the CLUPs are made. So usually a CLUP is made within a span of 18 months. You see on the screen the different activities during those months. Organization happens in the first 2 months. Also identification of stakeholders. Remember our like small graph earlier in this year where we start with identification of stakeholders, creating the vision, or I think I would put analyzing the situation before the vision. I would invert that. And then because if you analyze the situation, then you can create objectives and then you create the vision. This is sort of like maybe it's just a semantics thing, but I would prefer to have the vision after the objectives are defined. And then at the end of it, you have established development thrust. So that's the implementation, prepare the land use plan, draft zoning ordinance, and conduct public hearings. So ideally, it should be done in 18 months. So these are the steps. Discuss the need, assess the available resources, get the team together, inventory available information, and prepare and disseminate the materials. And then who are the people in those CLUP teams? You have the MPDC. I'm not sure who this is actually. There's so many acronyms. Planning officer, architectural, environmental planner, or like ME. I think that's mechanical engineer. I'm not sure. Could be wrong because like why would a mechanical engineer be here? Or maybe that's for like creating bridges and stuff. Specialists and environmental specialists as well will be in the core planning group. Support groups include like mappers, draftsmen, different representatives on housing, depending on the task, and as needed legal experts and real estate developers. So already, just with this group, very easily you can have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and then this could be like another five, another five, another five. So that's 20 people, and then who is like I think this is another group here. I'm not sure what TW stands for, but these are the other sort of concerned stakeholders, and the kinds of maps that will be need to be done. Excuse me, is the kind of boundary maps for different barangays, slope map, analyzing where we can build, where is it safe to build, uh, s- geological map, soil classification, land cover, looking at the existing vegetation. I don't know why slope map appears twice. Climate map, erosion map, land use map, rivers and streams, flooding hazards, fault lines, etc. And then in Cebu Province, a similar sort of CLUP was not really implemented but just started. The interesting problem with Cebu province is that there hasn't been a sort of update to the zoning map and the comprehensive land use plan since probably the late 70s. We've been sort of copying the same plan and republishing it again. I think the latest version is 2000, which is pretty much the 1970 version. And because of poor governance, again, this is really one of the weaknesses in my region. Maybe your region is doing better, your province is doing better, but this was a good first step and identifies the different problems in the Cebu province: septage and sewerage, soil waste management, traffic congestion, water supply, population increase, public transportation, etc., etc. And there's even videos of it. So if you Google Metro Cebu roadmap for sustainable urban development, you should be able to find it. So maybe it could inspire your local government to sort of solve their own, like have like different solutions for different problems, something like that. And then over here is the Metro Cebu 2000 structure plan from the Metro Cebu roadmap study. And notice the development pattern is following a multiple nuclei pattern. And then something that we need to discuss next week is the newer patterns for urban development, which focus on like transport or transportation oriented development, or like TODs, and smart growth. Smart growth is probably like just an amalgamation of different philosophies and principles, and then just labeled under the word smart for sustainability and like marketing purposes probably. And it really, the key thing here is that each region, each province, each city has very specific and unique problems that need to be addressed by the local government, and you can't just copy paste solutions from anywhere. It has to be analyzed and contextualized, because even if you have the best intentions, there's a saying like, all good intentions, the roadway to failure is like paved with good intentions. There really is a need to analyze the nuance, and again, um, look at the bigger picture, as I mentioned earlier this meeting. So some of the components implemented in the Metro Cebu Land Use Transportation Study, or the MACLUTS: Mandaue City Reclamation Project, South Reclamation Project, new roads, widenings, construction of Southern Bus Terminal, installation of modern traffic signal system. Components not implemented are creation of Metro Cebu Development Authority, which was a very big misstep, because now Cebu City is kind of like just waddling with no real leadership in terms of what to do with Cebu City specifically, and Metro Cebu in general. And then there was some movement before the pandemic hit, and now I think there is still, although it's a lot fewer now, and I'm not even updated as to the new plans. For me, I mostly work with an NGO called Cebu Leads, and they're focusing on bicycle transportation and like public space development. So this is where urban design fits in, like public space specifically, and we'll discuss that next meeting. What are some standards for public space design, which is really the thrust of this whole program. So we look at the big picture, national, provincial, and then all the way down to local, and then we can apply that's where urban design lives, in the local development, public space, etc. So looking over here, what else is in the roadmap for sustainable development of Metro Cebu, published in 2015? The analysis of the physical features of Cebu province. And over here, they have some sort of what they call the simulations. 2020 current population distribution. So if you look at this image here in the upper left corner, notice that yellow is medium density and red is high density. So if left alone, they project that by 2050, if left alone, like without any management or like regulations, the whole of sort of the eastern side of Cebu will be super densely populated, and very problems like traffic congestion, pollution will increase exponentially. So we really need like management, not just in Cebu province, but also your local areas as well, to sort of control the growth so that pollution is managed, traffic is managed, etc., etc. So you see here in the polycentric and equitably developed urban society, the density is more medium scale, like relatively to Cebu province. So you want sort of not a sprawling. This is like a big kanang question mark for me, because it looks like urban sprawl because they're lowering densities But I think here in the sort of urban core, this is near the older districts of Cebu, near Colon area, you see the bright red. So big concentration on the bright red here instead of like bright red everywhere. So let's call this. So more people living closer together. And in general, hopefully it's like the opposite of sprawl. But even though in the map it kind of looks like sprawl to me. And then more importantly, talking about finance, how is this whole thing supposed to be financed? Where do we get the funding to implement our different projects? So the key factor here is the Metro Cebu Development Coordination Board, which is, I think it's still existing. I think it's called like Metro Cebu or Mega Cebu now. They identify sort of the different projects. They pass it on to the RDC, like the Regional Development Council, I think. I think, don't quote me on that. And they pass it on to NEDA Region 7. And then currently the system is looking for donors in JICA, the Japanese company that's sponsoring this study, and the Department of, what is DOF? DOF Philippines. DOF. Department of Finance. I keep forgetting. It's such an obvious acronym. Department of Finance like checks that two-step loan process. We have the banks here, the DBP and the LBP. I think local bank something. And then also once that approves, we can get sort of like loans from LGUs, NGOs, private entities. PPP support fund is proposed to newly organized to support private investors' participation in PPP-based projects. So I'm not sure what PPP is. PPP is. So I need to like review that. But there's that thing. It goes through private investors and gets sort of plugged directly into the specific project. So this project one, project two, project management office, that's PMO. So each project will have their management office, which will be working together with DPWH and DOTC, and also probably, hopefully, a technical research and planning unit. So as a professional with a master's degree, maybe you'll end up working for these different units, like maybe NEDA, DPWH, or like a technical you'll be like a consultant in a technical research and planning unit. Your local government or local community should have something like this in place. And if not, maybe you will be the one who will be able to propose this kind of system so that you can sort of lead the way for development, sustainable development in your local community. I think that's all. Is that all? Yes, we're done. So that's 7:36, about an hour. Any questions and comments? Technical working group. Thank you for that, Bea. So TWG is technical working group. So it seems like our other members are not here. Any questions, comments, suggestions, etc. before we end tonight's meeting? Because like um, nobody has submitted anything yet. I'll still need to. I'm waiting for them to submit, hopefully. But if you're not gonna submit by the end of this session, I'll probably just like have to like give them a deduction there. And then next meeting we'll be talking about urban design. Finally, after looking at all those different factors, and we can now start talking about urban design standards, which you can apply in your local communities. So, any questions? Anything to add? Yes, go ahead.
Lalo ko question katong sa bridge na part, sir, kay
Hmm.
gi-search na ko balik ang Cebu Cordoba cost. Ini
Hmm.
cost na 30 billion.
30 billion. Okay, I did a quick sort of what do you call this, average number based on Google. Can we measure? Does it say how long the Cebu Cordova Bridge is? Because I did it at per feet sort of value, which I found on Google. Let's see. That was a quick average. Bridge construction cost. Bridge construction cost. Let's see, how much does it cost to bridge? Oh, this one says 250. Oh, wait, did I miss 3 zeros? I think I missed 3 zeros. Because in my calculator, let me open up my calculator here. Let me share my screen. I think I missed three zeros there. I just said 350, or it could have been 350,000. Oh crap! Where's that history? Let me open my history here. Calculator here. Yes, I just did 230. So let's see, 230,000, 230,000 times 1,700. Yes. So now it's closer. 123, 123, 123. So 3.9 billion. I missed three zeros. So it went from billion to million. So good job catching that. So I
Okay.
did. Hmm. Go ahead.
Pila na to ka years pa ng bridge ba niya?
Yeah. So usually it's $250, $250,000. Sorry, according to 2021 data. And then we converted that to peso, so we get like a billion. It's really kanang, it's in the billions for these kinds of bridges. So before I did 230 lang flat, no extra three zeros, so that's why it was so low. Millions lang.
Yeah, work house.
Murag house ba? Huh? Was ako kahuna at the time, kaya nag-apas ko sa time. Um, yeah, so any other comments? If wala, I don't know what happened to these other three students. I need to like message them. So I was hoping to use the presentations as well. Oh, I'll maybe like talk about your work na lang pod